In this video, we show that Hotmail's authentication logic contains a flaw which allows an active adversary to take full control of a user's account by truncating a TLS connection. The attack works under the standard assumption that the adversary controls the network and may access a computer shared with the user. But, we stress, the attack does not rely on tampering with the user's computer. This setting is typical of shared computers in public libraries and workplaces, for example. In essence, our attack works as follows. A user accesses her Hotmail account from a public computing terminal, and once the user has finished reading her mail, she visits Microsoft's account service, and a session is seamlessly authenticated by Microsoft's single sign-on service. Once the user is finished, she makes a logout request, and the server responds with some JavaScript code, which the user's client is expected to execute. This code is intended to send a logout request to each active service. Normally, after all the code is executed, the user is logged out and presented with a "You're signed out" message. However, we have observed that it is possible for an adversary to drop one of these logout requests, thereby truncating the TLS connection without the user's knowledge. More precisely, it is possible to drop a logout request and ensure that the user is still given positive feedback that her logout request has succeeded. The attacker can then use the public computing terminal to access the user's account and moreover change the user's password to take full control. For the purposes of this demo, the public computing terminal is modeled as a virtual machine running from an ISO image, and the network is modeled as the host, which the adversary is assumed to control. In advance of the attack, we assume that the adversary has analyzed the network traffic to determine which packets should be dropped. In practice, the attacker may use various techniques to identify and drop packets, and we have simply configured IP tables to drop packets of length 474 to 506, as can be observed from our IP table rules. We can probably tweak this range, but these values are sufficient for this demo. Let's now switch to the virtual machine and observe the attack in action. As discussed, our attack usually requires a user to access both her Hotmail account and her Microsoft account settings. However, Microsoft occasionally require users to review their settings, and we have streamlined this video demonstration by ensuring that Microsoft do indeed force such an action upon the user as she logs in. The user arrives at the public terminal, visits hotmail.com, enters her username followed by her password, and as we mentioned, she's forced to review her account settings. We won't make any changes, we'll just proceed. The user is then redirected to her Hotmail account, and she can view her email at her leisure, and eventually she'll log out. And she does this using the sign out button. The user observes the "You're signed out" message and is then free to leave the public computing terminal. The adversary can now use the public computing terminal to access the user's account. In particular, the attacker can visit account.live.com. And as we can see, the attacker has accessed the user's account without authentication. At this stage, we can edit the security information of the account, add an alternative email address, which is under the attacker's control, save our changes, and then log out. The attacker then attempts to log into Hotmail, decides that she can't access her account, provides the user's email address, and completes a captcha, which is quite difficult for me to do, simply because I can't work out what the letters are. Let's try that. Decides to email a reset link. Logs into her Gmail account. Accesses the email from the Microsoft team. Clicks the password reset link. Provides a new password. And now has complete control of the user's account. And that's it. Thank you for watching.